Good morning. It is another bright and breezy spring day. Yesterday, while Pete the Digger Man was here, and while we waited for the geotech fabric to come so that we could put that down and do the second load of shingle, I asked him to come up here and remove the stumps from the feejoas where another retaining wall is going to go in, and so he came and did that, which you will now see. Our neighbours over this side are an elderly couple. She was concerned that maybe the cabbage tree was going to be removed. They are a bit more exposed since we removed the feejoa trees last year, so I do understand their desire for there to be more of a screen on this boundary. It doesn't help that we look down on this area from our lounge window. Not that we spend our days standing looking out the lounge window, but it's perception. None of this is new to them, as I have discussed it with them for more than a year. As a consequence of the cyclone and damage to other parts of the property, it has taken longer to get this sorted than was the original plan. It was an amusing conversation in some ways, as she said at her age she doesn't have long for things to grow. She seems to be in quite good health for someone who, according to her, is nearly 90. I assured her the tree was staying and that all would be well once the wall and the fence were done. I don't think she was entirely convinced, but hopefully we will have it sorted sooner rather than later. now that he has come and gone with that, I'm left with a mess to clean up, which is what is the plan for today. So here are the stumps, but also there is still quite a lot of material in the ground here and on the ground here. My task this morning is to get all of this sorted and into the trailer, which is waiting here. So I'll crack on with that, and then I can perhaps explain a little more clearly where the wall is going to go. Because these stumps are going to green waste, I wanted to remove as much of the dirt as possible before putting them on the trailer. It was a bit of fiddling about, but worth it, as if it can't go to green waste, it has to go to the council tip, which is a really expensive option. As I suspected, this is taking a bit longer than the morning. Morning is almost gone, but the sun has been quite warm, so I think I'll take a break at this point, but the blackbird is back. So the stumps and quite a bit of other foliage and roots and things are now in here. I didn't film that because the light was just too difficult to get a decent shot with the bright sun, but I was working somewhat in the shade. So, however, it's in there. After lunch I will come back and tackle this bit here, try and get all of the roots and weeds and things out of there, and then in the meantime I will just put this pile of stuff here that is on the concrete back over into here. This female blackbird is ever present whenever I am disturbing dirt. She and her mate are obviously still sitting on their eggs, as she is just feeding herself at this point. In a week or so she'll be loading up her beak with worms and whatever else to take back to her chicks. It can be comical to watch as they try to get more in their beak than they can easily hold, and so they end up dropping them all and then picking them all up again. I quickly backed the trailer so as to leave enough clearance at the front of the car in case somebody came up the drive. I didn't realise how dangerously close I had come to actually backing the trailer clean off the edge here. Not ideal, but disaster was averted. I will move it forward. A quick close of play update as to where I'm up to and what the plan is. So I have put some pegs in, so one you can't see down there, and then another one at the edge of the drive down there, and the white string line is basically where the height of the wall will be. That is higher than the gutter at this down here, so that it will slope both up this way and up this way, and this bit down here, the curb won't be there. That will just become a natural gutter, and the water will be channeled down to go down where it goes now. I dug this over to some extent, got some of the bigger bits out, but further down I've just left it because all of that needs to be dug out and taken away anyway. So, okay, that's the summary. Good morning. It is a bright and shiny day, so ideal for water blasting the fence. Kathy has several rock roses and other flower plants growing in this bed at the base of the fence. They wouldn't really appreciate all the water from the water blasting, so I've put a piece of plastic guttering at the bottom of the boards to channel the water away as it comes off the fence. The retaining board at the lower end of the bed is too high to allow the gutter to go as it needs to for the water to flow down, so I need to remove that retaining board. Those of you who are familiar with using an impact driver will know that the sound that it's making means the bit is turning in the head of the screw rather than turning the screw. Sometimes, if you hammer the bit into the screw, it will bite enough to remove the screw. Sometimes not. After a couple of unsuccessful attempts at different screws, I realized that I needed a fresh drive bit. You will be able to observe that one of these bits is not like the other. These are the bits that come in the boxes with the bugle screws, and they put one in every box. And the reason is that really these drive bits only last about one box full. As you can see, the one on the right is now quite rounded, which is why I'm having trouble getting a couple of bugle screws out. Fortunately, I had a new unopened box of bugle screws, or purlin screws, whatever you want to call them. So I have retrieved the new bit from there and will now go and do the job that I was trying to do. It became apparent at this point that having removed the screws, the retaining board was not going to come out until I removed the fence paling that was on top of it. I remember thinking at the time when I put all of the fence in that I would have been better to cut the retaining board shorter and put the paling down the end of it. If I had done that, I wouldn't be having to do and face this issue now. I realised after I'd started that the water was coming out the end of the guttering, but was then tracking through the pile of soil at the end and washing it down onto the path. Not really what I wanted. I used my hammer as a garden tool and created a channel for the water next to the retaining boards so that the water then tracked down the fence line. Those of you who are regular viewers may remember that the contractors came to put the conduit in for the ground services, that they had some difficulty and ended up having to bring a boring machine up to the top here, and even then they were not initially successful. As part of the initial unsuccessful day, they borrowed my water blaster and drain cleaning nozzle to try and find a way through the path that they had bored. Unfortunately, what none of us noticed was that the water supply for the water blaster had become detached from the tap, meaning that the water blaster was running for quite a few minutes without any water supply to the pump. That, of course, meant that the pump was destroyed. I had a new pump fitted to the machine, and I think this is the first time that I have used it since then. This new pump seems to have a bit more punch than the original one, so a silver lining there, I guess, even if a somewhat expensive one. Because of the confined space between the compost bins and the fence, it wasn't possible to obtain sufficient angle between the fence and the jet of water. This one that I am now using with the bent end on it was off a much less powerful electric water blaster that my dad had. As well as confined spaces like this, it's also great for overhead stuff like soffits, so that you don't have to stand underneath quite so much to get a good angle. When used with this machine, it's a bit difficult to control due to the sideways pressure on the wand. It did, however, enable me to get this section of the fence done, which would otherwise have been quite difficult. And so that part of the job is now complete, all the way down. It is good to have that done. What it means now is that once it has dried, which it will do over the next few days hopefully, then I can paint it. paint being not quite the right word, coated maybe, because it's oiled, a stain with some oil in it rather than a paint, and that will help preserve the timber as well. As I was going along, it's really obvious that this timber has, the palings have shrunk quite a bit. There are reasonable gaps between all the boards now, whereas when I put them up they were mostly quite tight together. And so we come to the end of another video. My neighbour has kindly lent to me his airless sprayer. This is basically a commercial grade one. I think it's a Wagner Pro 350 or something like that. So that will hopefully make short work of both the fence and the wall. I do have the stain ready to go on, and so that will hopefully feature in the next video. That of course will be weather dependent. We'll see how we go. Alright, see you later. Bye.